right.
There you go.
I don't know what that was. It just,
The devil's a lie. We're going to get this information out tonight. That's what we're going to do.
we
That's
sure
what
the
we're going
heck
to do. The
are.
devil is a lie. We're going to pick
No
right back
time for
up and
that.
jump right back in.
You ain't never lied about that.
Yep, absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
and we are back.
And ready. And ready. So
Thank you
I was,
everybody for coming back
yep,
on. Yeah.
yes, absolutely. And so I know that I was talking about the concept of protective factors again,
Yes.
and just going back to this idea of one of the things that's important within our support system is to have someone who can do problem solving and someone who can do crisis management. Both of those are so important because when you're going and transitioning through menopause, there are numerous things that we have to manage, and our health is the biggest, right? Not just our mental health, but our physical health also. And so when that takes place, being able to talk through some things to determine what pathway of interventions are going to be best for you, it's imperative. Like, not just the hot flashes, the brain fog, the insomnia, the weight gain. Not, I mean, we have a lot of physiological body things that take place, and then also in terms of our sexual health, right? Our pelvic floor, our bladder, like, things change.
Yep.
Right. And so
Completely.
that is a lot. Having someone to be able to help you problem solve and then be there to support you when crisis management is needed, right? So that you don't fall into what we were talking about before, what we call emotional distress. That is major in your circle, in your supportive circle that
Yes.
you need. Because it's not always easy to navigate or to feel like you can make the best informed decisions for yourself when you're already feeling overwhelmed by your health. And
That's
so,
right.
yeah. And so that's important. And then there's this idea of what I call respect for boundaries, right? Sometimes, yeah, that's a big one. Because sometimes we have to learn how to set limits. Again, even though we may look and still feel like we're in our mid 30s, we have to learn how to say no to people. We have to learn how to say no because we need to be home and we got to take a little nap. We have to say no because right now our emotional capacity is this small, right?
That's right.
And not this big. And so it's okay to start setting up new boundaries and to ask people for what you need, or better yet, to tell people what you need. Right. And so that's going to be key in trying to establish a supportive system. And then we need people who are in our lives who are able and willing to demonstrate a degree of flexibility. Again, you don't know where you're going to be in the process, and where we start out in the process may not be where we are in 1 year and 5 years and 10 years. This journey is truly that, a journey.
It really is.
Right?
And it changes from moment to moment.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And so having someone who's very flexible in your support system and doesn't expect to box you in and say, oh, well, that happened last time and now it's happening again. Well, yeah, it's happening again, and it may happen again tomorrow. Right. Yeah. And so being able to be emotionally flexible is another important piece to have in your supportive circle. And then also the last concept is this idea of establishing long-term relationships with people. Find people, find your village. I believe that we should all do that, no matter what the concept is in our life, right?
That's right.
As a therapist, I have a village of therapists, right? I'm sure being a beautician and a salon owner, you probably have many other beautician friends or salon. Find your people, right? Because those are the people who will also help you elevate, stay grounded, stay informed about where you're at, what you need, what's new, what's happening, and information. And so I think that Pretty Moody is doing that, creating a platform for people to find their people, but
Yes,
also don't be afraid to extend
that's right.
into other resource areas. So whether it's a social, a support group for women in menopause, whether it's a group of friends that you connect with in the workspace, or whether it's platforms like this, don't be afraid to put yourself out there so that you can establish those long-term relationships and get what you actually need. But
That's
ultimately,
it.
the supportive function and these protective pieces play a very vital role in how we transition through menopause. And of course, it would be my hopes and my prayers that everyone would do so, with resilience, confidence, and a great deal of self-worth, and recognizing their own power in order to be able to sustain their sense of mental and emotional well.
Yes, yes, and grasping
Mhm.
onto those things that, are coping mechanisms, like all of those things that you mentioned to help us, propel while we're on this journey.
Absolutely.
So I love all of that.
Absolutely.
Um, yes, I am excited because I know a lot of people on here want to know what you about to say about sex.
But you know what? I'm gonna open it up. What do they want me to say about sex? That's the
What
question.
y'all?
That is the
Woo!
question.
You
What do
gonna
you
just
want me
put
to
it?
say
You
about
just
sex?
gonna put it just out there in the open,
Well, what do
huh?
we say about sex? It's a it's essential. It's vital to who we are, right? It's a part of our reproductive pleasure rights as a woman, right?
Mm-hmm.
And when we're transitioning through this process and this journey, a lot of things change with our previous abilities and our body, that, this idea and notion of how we see ourselves sexually changes. As we get older, we have to stay at the gym, keep
A
things in the right
lot of
direction,
changes. It's a
and
lot of
a
changes.
lot of changes. Um, you're working 10 times as hard to keep off 5 pounds. There's a lot of changes. And so, to be able to make that happen, and still have a healthy sexual relationship, you really do have to dig in this journey to identify where those deficits are for you, or what menopause is bringing up and creating as a deficit for you. Because those hormonal changes, they change your libido, they change your vaginal moisture, lubrication, they change your bladder, they change, you can get atrophy in your pelvic area. And so they change your body. Just is it's one big ball of evolving changes.
Yes.
And so in terms of sex and mental wellness, I think don't put yourself in a box. Be okay with talking about um, what you don't know that you're able to do. And so this goes back into some of our protective factors. That open communication is always, imperative and important. But also being able to set limits if you're no longer able to do something, and or being able to problem solve on how you do what it is that you like to do, and
Wow.
to not feel like you have to give it up. Because sometimes people feel like it's an exchange, right? Like, I have to exchange this now, this healthy sexual appetite, because I'm experiencing vaginal dryness. Well, you don't.
You
You
don't.
have to be able to problem solve
Right.
so you can still do so.
Right.
And or, oh, my libido is very low, and so I'm just not interested. Well, then let's do something to help you increase the libido, right?
Like
What
what?
do we
Like
do?
what? What are
Uh,
we doing?
what? So it depends on where your libido has you. So if it has you to the point where you're just not interested in sex, then maybe you have to have a conversation with your partner about being the initiator, right?
About
Maybe
them
being
being the
them
initial.
being the initiator,
Okay. Okay.
absolutely, right, and
Mhm.
taking the reins, because
Mhm.
maybe what you've learned about yourself is that I'm tired, and if I have the opportunity to not initiate, I'm not going to do it. I'm going to go to sleep. But if your partner initiates, then your body gets, it starts to respond, and you're like, hey, right? And so then you want to jump in and participate. And so it depends on where the deficit is. Let's just say body image, that's changed.
Because that's
Maybe,
huge too. It's
yeah,
huge in menopause.
absolutely.
Like, I mean, it's huge in midlife. Period.
Absolutely, absolutely. And so maybe you're not as happy with some things that are not lifted in the right area or tucked the way they used to be tucked. Okay, well, what are the things that you can do? Back to problem solving again, right? Being solution focused, right? Okay, maybe you want to entertain the idea of getting a personal trainer, right? So that you can work on the body image issues. Maybe you want to change what type of lingerie you wear. Before it might have just been pasties or some glow in the dark glitter. Maybe now you require a little bit more coverage, but still very sexy and alluring to your partner. But you have to be able to have those conversations and talk about it, right? Previously, let's talk about stamina. Maybe where you were once able to perform for long periods of time, maybe that's not possible currently, right? And so now you have to ask for breaks. Maybe you have to use some type of lubrication. Things have to change. So being able to know where your sexual deficits and changes are happening at, and then being able to put some communication to them, to those deficits, so that you can get out of it what you want.
I think that's really good. And I think the biggest part is the communication.
Yeah,
Like being able to communicate where you are. First of all, we got to be honest with ourselves first, right? And
absolutely.
and being able to say, hey, this is where I'm at.
Mm-hmm.
Like this is what, and I use the term sometimes, like we have to reintroduce ourselves to our own self, because we're getting to
Absolutely.
know this new
Absolutely.
woman and who we are and this new
Absolutely.
body and this new every damn thing. Like
Mm-hmm.
we're getting to know her as well.
Absolutely.
So I think that being honest with ourselves first and where we are, and then what we need, right? Because
Correct.
if we're able to say, okay, Dad, well, I used to need this,
Mm-hmm.
but it's
Mm-hmm.
changed now.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes that's a lot to wrap your
Mm-hmm.
head around, the fact that, Dad, this is, I can't do that no more. Like what the heck? Like
Absolutely.
what? Yeah, like Dad, I
Absolutely.
can't do my knees. I need knee pads
Mm-hmm.
now. Like
Yeah. Yeah. And
what?
sometimes
So
people struggle with the shame of that,
yes,
right? And
it's
so
huge. Like it's huge.
the shame, I think, keeps people from actually, especially in menopause, having the type of sex that they would like to have, having the type of intimate connections that they would like to have. Because one, how many people actually have these conversations with their gynecologist?
Exactly.
Or how many people are using this as happy hour conversation with their girlfriends, right? Nobody wants you to know that I feel like I'm less than
That's right.
capable or able to perform. And so the big piece with the idea of the sex that relates to menopause is you have to be okay with being able to do a new inventory for yourself,
I like
right?
that.
A new inventory. And honestly, you should be doing a new inventory anyway,
Whew.
right?
Yeah.
Nothing stays the same. And so
Nothing
it's
at
just
all.
a new assessment of who you are. And I think if we can get past the point of women feeling like this is it, you know, and not to minimize it, this is a huge hurdle, right?
Mm-hmm.
When
Mm-hmm.
you have to shift your brain from one being childbearing to the idea that, oh, I will never be able to have another child again in my life. Now, although by the time you hit that point, you're like, I don't need no more, right? I'm good. I'm good with
But it's
what
the
is the
principle. But it's the
principle.
principle. That's right.
Absolutely. And the idea of saying you once were capable and now you're not, that can be a little, you know, that could be a little jarring for someone,
That's right.
right? And then it's a lot, because then we also do this thing where we do this comparative analysis to what you see out here,
Mm-hmm.
and then you're measuring yourself against other women, what the Instagram and social media hot thing is. You start then making these false competitions in your head. Then there's questions about the relationship you're in, and not because you don't love the person or because you don't trust the person, but now if you're feeling inadequate and not enough for yourself,
That's right.
then you start to believe that someone else may see you that way. And then that starts to play into your emotional psyche. That starts to play into how you see
Wow.
yourself sexually. And then it just kind of continues to, it's like a snowball effect. And so the real question is people understanding and asking themselves, what do I want from my sense of sexual self in this journey? And then being able to be solution focused enough to get it.
That's what I'm talking about. Because we're not gonna stop having sex. Like
Yeah.
we need to figure this shit out.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Like for sure.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
For for
Absolutely.
sure. And it's like it becomes a thing too where it's like you don't want to it's like you want to be selfish, but you don't want to be selfish because you
Mhm.
have someone else to consider, you know,
Absolutely.
and we're we want to be pleased and we want to please also.
Absolutely.
So that thing that plays on your psyche is so real because when you're feeling like I can't even get it together for
Mm-hmm.
me right here, then I gotta go present, you know, to my spouse, my mate, whatever.
Yep.
It can get a little tricky sometimes. How do you pose we have like how like to start off having like a healthy conversation, you know, with your mate about, you know, what you're going through sexually or whatever. Like, how can someone like ease into
Mm-hmm.
that? You know, because that can be a little challenging too, where
Mm-hmm.
you don't even know how to step to the person. I don't
Mm-hmm.
care how close you are. This is a very, very sensitive, you know, topic in a
Mm-hmm.
relationship.
Yep. Yep.
Like, so trying to explain it and getting the other person to
Mm-hmm.
understand, like, what would you say from your professional standpoint the best approach is for something like that?
I think the best approach is always honesty. And I think that if you approach the conversation and not in a problematic way, but in a way that looks and presents itself that you are interested in creating solutions, then you'll get a better outcome. So you're not going to go to your partner and say, oh, well, you know, my libido is low and I'm just not interested in having sex with you anymore. And so I need you to understand that we're not going to be participating the way we once were 4 or 5 times a week. Well, now that's a problem because now the other person is not being considered, right?
That's right.
And so the idea of being able to say, hey, listen, this is what's going on with my body. But if you have started this conversation early on also,
Mm.
right, the person
Mm-hmm.
will be along this journey with you.
That's
And
right.
so if you say, this is what's going on with my body, I'm going to make a doctor's appointment because I noticed some changes, right? It's a little bit more painful. It's a little bit more dry, whatever your issue is. It'd be nice if you go to the doctors with me so we can hear and get the information together about what we can do to continue to have the best connectivity for ourselves together. right? And so it's a difference. I'm not telling the person that I'm about to cut something off from them and limit them because I'm going through this. The difference is I asked you to come with me to gain the information. I also said, I can see that I don't want this to be an issue and come between what you and I have, that's a healthy process. I would like to be able to go and find a solution for it. So already the person knows you're in the mindset of, I want to figure this out.
That's
so
right.
that you and I can stay connected and have the best healthy outcomes for ourselves in this relationship. And so I think it's a matter of presentation and communication, right?
And that just that togetherness, and it makes them feel included. You know what I mean? And feeling like they're a part of, and like you said, like you're just trying to provide a solution here so we can keep getting it in.
Absolutely.
You know? Yes.
Absolutely. That's the biggest piece. That's the biggest piece. And so I really think that wherever the deficit is where you have to put the focus to work on.
Love that.
Yeah.
I love that. What for women that are just like, I'm not in the mood, because I hear women say that too all the time. I don't want them to touch me. I'm not in the mood. And we have our moments. I have my nights too where I'm just like, but I don't like saying no. Like, it's not like I don't like, I say it, but I don't feel good sometimes about saying it. You know what I mean? Like, I feel guilty.
Absolutely.
Like when I'm not in the mood or whatever, because first of all, I don't want my husband to feel like I'm turning him away or anything like that. But I hear women a lot say, I don't have nothing. Like, do you have anything to offer up for women that find themselves in that type of situation?
I do. I would say first, figure out why you don't have anything, right? Again, it's always about solutions. Do you not have anything because you're burning too much, right? You're burning energy you don't have. Do you not have it because you're overextended in your task the same way you've previously been, and you're not helping and asking to delegate those practical assistance pieces that we talked about, right? What is it? Why is it that you don't have it? Is it that you're not sleeping enough at night? But whatever it is, look for the solution, because technically that all needs to be fixed. Right?
Yes. Yeah.
Why is the mood not that way? Is it just emotionally? Okay, well, maybe if it's not sex that you're going to have, maybe you can get yourself engulfed in a wonderful, intimate conversation. Because you don't always have to have it for sex. And that's the other thing. People, when women transition into menopause, this is where, as my grandmother would say, the rubber meets the road, right? This idea that sex is just done with the body. Sex is done in first head in the brain. It's first here, right? And so you may have to get a little bit more crafty as to how you build those intimate connections and what that looks like. And for a lot of people who have just been used to being in that mindset that, oh, we got to have sex every single day, you can have great intimacy and not be physically engaged. And so helping them redefine what intimacy looks like, right? An erotic, wonderful massage does shit. You put me to sleep, then I'll be knocked out after that. You really ain't got to worry about asking me for anything, because you'll be asleep. But you understand? But it's in such a way, a great foot massage, sitting on the couch with each other, right? Intimate dinners, playing wonderful board games that connect, that are purposely meant for couples to get into each other's mind space, learning things about the person, changing what intimacy looks like. It can be a touch, it can be a look, it could be an intense, way of cuddling, kissing. It doesn't have to just be about sex. And so sometimes it's going to be challenging for women who are going into that journey to disconnect with this idea that all the pleasure in their relationship is just based in that foundation of physical connectivity, right? And so
It's
you're
a
going to have
whole
to
nother
get crafty.
playground. It's a
Absolutely.
whole nother
Absolutely.
playground we gotta
Absolutely.
learn and tap
Absolutely.
into,
Absolutely.
especially on this new journey, in
Absolutely.
our life.
And
So,
that even can be exciting. That should
yes,
be exciting,
it
right? And so when you say
definitely
how you
should.
sell it to your partner, it should be exciting. Be like, well, we might not be able to do all of that, but we're about to learn how to do some of this and some of that and some of this, and then we're going to do a little of that. And so make it be exciting. Remember, it can be exciting. Despite how your mood is and how you're feeling, there's still elements of wonderful surprise for you to evolve into. And so again, making these self-assessments. Am I feeling so low that I'm disconnected sexually? And do I need some assistance with that? Right? Should I be exploring some medication options? What do I need to do? Right? Being able to make those informed decisions. So it goes back to what we said previously about having the information and the education. Because if you're that, if you feel like you're that sexually, that your sexual sense of self is at a deficit and it's that low, then you should be speaking to a professional to get the additional assistance.
That's great information. This was amazing. I want to see if anybody have any questions, because we've been on here for an hour. This is so good, and I can go on and on. But if anybody have any questions, like, drop them in the comments so we can answer real quick before we get off with Dr. Jah. This is amazing. I mean, you're like a double-edged sword. You have like the mental health and then the sexual, health. It's
Well, while
amazing.
we're waiting to see about, thank you. While we're waiting to see about any questions, I do want to just talk a little bit about what the collaboratives are that we're doing and working on the couples retreats and the couple workshops. And so together, Pretty Moody and Synergy, we are going to be working on, and this is not just for couples who are in menopause. You don't have to be married to your partner.
Right.
This is a love workshop, right? And so if you're interested in love, if you have somebody you love, we're going to be putting on different workshops in order to help you enhance some of these and some of these deficits that we have. And
Yes.
they won't always just be about the problems that we're facing. We want to make these workshops be about solution focused outcomes. And so
That's
that's
it.
where they're going to get the real TT at, and all of the
That's right.
examples and the wonderful workshops on sexual communication 101, performance ideas, tons of things, right? I'm trying not to get kicked off of IG, so I don't want to say too much about what's going to be going down, but this is going to be adult-based type of behavior here. And
Yes.
so lots of things and treats and things to bring into the bedroom accessories, things that will help you enhance, grow your relationship, great deal of intimate content and conversation to learn how to start having this conversation with your partners. And so we're just looking forward to really being able to get that up and off the ground,
Yes.
and giving you all so much more that will help this journey continue to be an easy one to walk
Yes.
with our community or outside of our community, but knowing that you have us as a resource to be able to bring that to you. So we're super excited about that.
Yes. I mean, the whole mission is just to empower.
Yeah,
We
absolutely.
want to support and empower and strengthen the community. So we want to do everything that we can to
Absolutely.
make sure that happens. Well, I
Absolutely.
didn't see anybody come on here with any questions. So make sure that you guys
Well,
continue
we're
to.
talking about sex. So I don't want to put the
So
questions.
that's why it's like a little hush.
So well,
We need to talk about it a little more so we can get it together.
Absolutely,
But
absolutely.
we're gonna get it together, and I'm pretty sure once we in person, the energy is gonna be there.
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
I'm excited for what the future holds for
Yeah,
us in this space, Dr. Ja.
absolutely.
And again, I thank you so
You're
much
welcome.
for,
You're
you know,
welcome.
always being a part of the Pretty Moody platform and a
Always.
part of the community. Thank you, thank you,
Yeah,
thank
you're
you.
welcome. Thank
And
you for having me.
yes, and they will hear from us soon.
They sure will.
Thank you, everybody, for joining us tonight. All of the IG lives for the Moody transitions will be posted on Instagram for you to see all of them. And yeah, and guess what? I'm gonna come on and do a live next Monday, just me by myself, and I'm going to talk about the Moody transitions and
Excuse me.
about why I started Pretty Moody and reintroduce myself to the community that has grown, you know, so much since I started. So I'm excited
Very
about that. So
good.
yes, yes. You okay?
Got a little tickle in my throat.
Uh, get that water, get that ice water.
Indeed. Indeed.
Well, can you leave the audience with something positive on your way out?
I will say, excuse me, what I've said before in the middle of this process is I hope that you all really learn to become comfortable in your skin, comfortable in the place that you're in, and to be okay with being uncomfortable, right? That's how we're going to continue. I'm so sorry.
You okay?
Yeah,
You
yeah,
can take a
yeah.
you can
No, it was spit going down the wrong tube. Don't even worry about it, girl.
menopause.
No. Excuse me. But just being okay with being who you are and being okay to evolve, right? There is support. There's we are breaking silence, right? This is what
Yes,
we're doing. We are breaking stigmatisms surrounding menopause and what it looks like, and shame that comes
yes,
with it, right?
yes, for
And
sure.
so we are here being a catalyst. Be okay with your position, and it's okay if you're not okay yet, but be okay with letting someone know that you're not okay, so we can hold you until you can hold yourself, right?
Amen to
And
that.
that's what it's all about. And so, as always, I am pleased to be here, pleased to be able to share the information. I'm looking forward to all of the new exciting pieces that we have coming up and the conversations. And so I just hope that if it doesn't just apply to you and you know a friend or a family member or someone else who can use it, please be sure to share the information, retag someone, invite someone into the Pretty Moody Synergy community, so that we can keep on talking about how we really push past the stigma that we have with mental health as it relates to menopause, as it relates to life, right?
Period.
None of us are impermeable to what's going to happen in life, but together we can make a change. Together we can move forward. Together we can continue to take steps to grow. And so just be okay where you're at. We got you until you
Yes.
got yourself.
Listen, they're part of the Moody movement. This is a movement, and we want to keep moving. You know, we
Absolutely.
want to keep moving, and like you said, linking arms and
Yeah,
being here to be that support.
absolutely.
So thank you so much, Dr.
Yep.
Ja. I love
Thank
you
you.
much,
Thank you. Thank
and I
you. Thank you for
appreciate you
having me.
being here.
Always, always, always. Thank you, everyone, for
Thank
tuning
you.
in and participating. Well, some people were
Yes.
participating before, but we see you jumping in, and
Yes.
so your presence is participation enough for me.
Yes.
But thank you so much for having me. I look forward, and I see people still
Yes.
joining on, and we're about to leave.
They're going to have to catch the replay.
Absolutely, absolutely, absolutely.
Yes. Thank you. Good night,
Yep.
everybody. Thank
Good
you all for
night.
coming. Thank
Thank you
you.
all.
Good
Be well. Be
night.
blessed.
Love you, Carly. Thank you.
Bye bye.